Okay, I'm just going to start right in the middle. I'm going to be doing the Daf Yomi for September 22nd, 2018, and I'll try and get everything done through September 28th, 2018. So it will be in the Talmud, and this week's is I don't know how to say it, Menachot. Let's see. Oh, we're on the Sefaria.org website, sefaria.org. Menachot. I believe that would be it. And we want to go to start at 43. Let's see. Chapters. 43, I guess A is the front of the page and B would be the back of the page. So 43A, that was 40 days old. He would soak the sky blue wool in this solution from night until morning. If its color would fade, Iparad Hazuti, the sky blue wool was determined to be unfit, as it was not dyed with techelet, derived from a helazin. If its color would not fade, the sky blue wool was determined to be fit. And Rav Ada said before Rava, in the name of Rav Avira, one brings hard, arkiza, leavened barley dough, and bakes the sky blue wool in it. If the color of the sky blue wool changes for the better, meaning that the process intensifies the color of the sky blue wool, then it is fit. If the color of the sky blue wool changes for the worse, i.e. it fades, then it is unfit. And your mnemonic is, change reveals falsehood and change reveals truth. All of this indicates that it is possible to test whether sky blue wool has been dyed with real techelet contrary to the Bereta. Maybe somebody can help me with the pronunciations. The Gemara explains the Bereta. What does it mean when it says, there is no reliable method of testing sky blue wool? It means that there is no way to test whether it was dyed for the sake of the mitzvah or for the purpose of testing the dye. The Gemara relates that Mar, a sage from Mashke, brought sky blue wool in the years when Rav Ahai was a preeminent sage. They tested it in the manner described by Rav Yitzhak, son of Rav Yehuda, and its color faded. Then they tested it in the manner described by Rav Ada, and the color changed for the better. The sages thought that the sky blue wool should be deemed unfit because it did not pass the first test. Rav Ahai said to them, but how could it be that this wool is not techelet, as it failed one of the tests and is also not indigo, as it passed the other? This is impossible because it must be one or the other. Rather, conclude from it that these halakot were stated together. He explains in a case where we tested the wool in the manner described by Rav Yitzhak, son of Rav Yehuda, and its color did not fade. It is fit and requires no further testing. If its color faded, then we test it in the manner described by Rav Ada, with hard leavened barley dough. If the color changed for the better, it is fit. If the color changed for the worse, it is unfit. The Gemara adds, they sent a message from there, i.e. Eretz Yisrael. These halakot were in fact stated together, as explained by Rav Ahai. The Gemara relates that Rabbi Mani was exacting and purchased sky blue wool in accordance with the stringencies of the Bereta, cited earlier, i.e. that wool dyed as a test is unfit for ritual fringes, and that therefore one should purchase sky blue wool for ritual fringes only from an expert. A certain elder said to him, "This is what your early predecessors did, and their businesses were successful." The sages taught in a Bereta, in the case of one who purchases a cloak with ritual fringes from the marketplace. If he purchased it from a Jew, it retains its presumptive status that it is fit for the mitzvah. If he purchased it from a Gentile, then if he purchased it from a merchant, it is presumed to be fit, as the merchant would want to maintain his credibility and would therefore purchase the sky blue strings only from a reliable source. But if he purchased it from a Gentile, who is an ordinary person rather than a professional merchant, the sky blue strings are unfit, as the seller presumably dyed them himself. And even though the sages said, a person is not permitted to sell a cloak with ritual fringes to a Gentile unless he unties and removes its ritual fringes, it is permitted to purchase such a cloak from a Gentile merchant, as it is assumed that the merchant acquired the cloak from a Jew who ignored this halakha. The Gemara asks, what is the reason for the prohibition against selling a cloak with ritual fringes to a Gentile? The Gemara answers, here they interpreted that it is prohibited because of the concern that the Gentile will visit a prostitute and observers will think that he is a Jew. Alternatively, Rav Yehuda said, it is prohibited lest a Jew mistake the Gentile for a Jew and accompany him on a journey, thinking that he is also Jewish, due to his ritual fringes, and the Gentile might then kill him. Rev Yehuda would affix white and sky blue strings to the garment, presuma, of his wife, and every morning he would recite the blessing, to wrap ourselves in garments with ritual fringes. The Gemara asks, from the fact that he would affix ritual fringes to his wife's garments, it is apparent that he holds that the obligation of ritual fringes is a positive mitzvah that is not time-bound, and therefore women are also obligated in it. But if that is his opinion, why did he recite the blessing on ritual fringes each and every morning? In order for the mitzvah to not be time-bound, it must apply at night, in which case a new blessing should not be recited in the morning. The Gemara answers, Rav Yehuda was acting in accordance with the opinion of Rabbi Yehuda Hanasi, as it is taught in a Bereta. With regard to phylacteries, every time one dons them, he recites the blessing over them, even several times in one day. This is the statement of Rabbi Yehuda Hanasi. The Gemara asks, if so, he should have also recited a blessing every time that he took the cloak off and put it back on, and not merely once a day in the morning. The Gemara answers, Rav Yehuda was a modest man, and he did not remove his cloak the entire day. The Gemara asks, In what way is it different from the morning? I.e., why did he recite a blessing in the morning? The Gemara answers, he recited the blessing in the morning when he changed from a nighttime garment to a daytime garment. The sages taught in a Baraita, everyone is obligated in the mitzvah of ritual fringes, including priests, Levites, Israelites, converts, women, and Canaanite slaves. Rabbi Shimon deems women exempt because the mitzvah of ritual fringes is a positive, time-bound mitzvah, and women are exempt from every positive, time-bound mitzvah. The Gemara analyzes the Baraita. The Master said in the Baraita, everyone is obligated in the mitzvah of ritual fringes, including priests, Levites, and Israelites. The Gemara asks, isn't that obvious? As if priests, Levites, and Israelites were exempt from the mitzvah. Who then is to be obligated? The Gemara answers, it was necessary for the Baraita to mention that priests are obligated to fulfill the mitzvah, as it may enter your mind to say as follows, since it is written, you shall not wear diverse kinds, wool and linen together, you shall prepare yourself twisted cords upon the four corners of your covering. Deuteronomy 22, verses 11 and 12. Only one who is not permitted to wear diverse kinds is obligated in the mitzvah of ritual fringes. With regard to these priests, since diverse kinds are permitted for them when they perform the temple service, as the belt of the priestly vestments contains diverse kinds, they should not be obligated in the mitzvah of ritual fringes. Therefore, the Baraita teaches us that although the prohibition of diverse kinds is permitted for them at the time when they perform the temple service, when it is not the time of the temple service, it is not permitted. And therefore, priests are obligated in the mitzvah of ritual fringes. The mitzvah of ritual fringes. The Baraita states that Rabbi Shimon deems women exempt. The Gemara asks, what is the reasoning of Rabbi Shimon? The Gemara answers, as it is taught in a Baraita that with regard to ritual fringes, it is stated, and it shall be unto you for a fringe, that you may look upon it and remember all the commandments of the Lord. Numbers chapter 15, verse 39. The term that you may look excludes a nighttime garment, as it is dark at night and it is therefore difficult to see. The Baraita continues, one may ask, do you say that the verse serves to exclude a nighttime garment? Or is it to exclude only the garment of a blind person? Who is also unable to see his ritual fringes? The Tana explains, when the verse states, of your covering with which you cover yourself, Deuteronomy chapter 22, verse 12, the garment of a blind person is mentioned as being included, as the verse already stated, of your covering. That's quote, of your covering, unquote. And did not need to state, with which you cover yourself. So, quote, with which you cover yourself, unquote. If so, how do I realize the meaning of the exclusion that you may look upon it? It must exclude a nighttime garment. The Gemara asks, what did you see that led you to include the garment of a blind person from the phrase, with which you cover yourself? and to exclude a nighttime garment from the phrase, that you may look upon it, rather than including a nighttime garment in the obligation and excluding the garment of the blind person. The Gemara answers, I included the garment of a blind person, which is visible to others, even though the blind person himself cannot see it. And I exclude a nighttime garment, which is not visible even to others. The Gemara asks, and the rabbis who disagree with Rabbi Shimon? We're on 43b. What do they do with, i.e., how do they interpret this verse? With which you cover yourself. Deuteronomy 22:12. The Gemara answers that the rabbis require it for that which is taught in a bereta. The phrase, on the four corners of your garment, Deuteronomy 22:12, indicates that one is required to attach ritual fringes to a garment that has four corners, but not to one that has three corners. The bereta continues, do you say that a garment with four corners is obligated, but not a garment with three corners? Or is it teaching only that a garment with four corners is obligated, but not a garment that has five corners? When the verse states, with which you cover yourself, a garment with five corners is thereby mentioned in the verse as being obligated. Then how do I realize the meaning of on the four corners of your garment? It teaches that this obligation is limited to a garment that has four corners, but not to one that has three corners. The Gemara asks, but what did you see that led you to include a garment with five corners and to exclude a garment with three corners, rather than including a garment with three corners and excluding a garment with five corners? The Gemara answers, I include a garment with five corners, as five includes four, and I exclude a garment with three corners, as three does not include four. The Gemara asks, and how does Rabbi Shimon derive the halakha that a five-cornered garment is required to have ritual fringes? The Gemara answers, he derives it from the seemingly extraneous word, with which, that's asher, with which you cover yourself. So, which, asher. That's Deuteronomy 22:12. The Gemara asks, and what do the rabbis derive from this word? The Gemara answers, they do not learn any new halakot from the word which, or asher. The Gemara asks, and as for the rabbis, what do they do with this phrase, that you may look upon it? Numbers 15:39, from which Rabbi Shimon derives that a nighttime garment is exempt. The Gemara answers, they require it for that which is taught in a bereta. The verse, that you may look upon it and remember, from Numbers 15:39, teaches that one should see this mitzvah of ritual fringes and remember another mitzvah that is contingent on it. And which mitzvah is that? It is the mitzvah of the recitation of Shema. As we learned in a Mishnah, Berakot 9b, from when may one recite Shema in the morning? From when one can distinguish between the sky blue strings and the white strings of his ritual fringes. And it is taught in another bereta, the phrase, that you may look upon it and remember, teaches that one should see this mitzvah of ritual fringes and remember another mitzvah that is adjacent to it in the Torah. And which mitzvah is that? It is the mitzvah of diverse kinds of wool and linen. As it is written, You shall not wear diverse kinds, wool and linen together. You shall prepare yourself twisted cords. Deuteronomy 22:11 and 12. It is taught in another Bereta. The verse states that you may look upon it and remember all the commandments of the Lord. This indicates that once a person is obligated in this mitzvah of ritual fringes, he is obligated in all of the mitzvot. The Gemara comments, and this is in accordance with the opinion of Rabbi Shimon, who says that ritual fringes are a positive, time-bound mitzvah, and women are exempt from it. Only men are obligated in all mitzvot, including positive, time-bound mitzvot, just as they are obligated in the mitzvah of ritual fringes. It is taught in another Bereta. The verse states that you may look upon it and remember all the commandments of the Lord. This teaches that this mitzvah of ritual fringes is equivalent to all the mitzvot of the Torah. And it is taught in another Bereta. The verse states that you may look upon it and remember all the commandments of the Lord and do them. This teaches that looking at the ritual fringes leads to remembering the mitzvot, and remembering them leads to doing them. And Rabbi Shimon bar Yochai says, anyone who is diligent in this mitzvah of ritual fringes merits receiving the divine presence. It is written here that you may look upon it, Oto, that's Numbers 15:39, and it is written there, you shall fear the Lord your God, and him, Oto, shall you serve. Deuteronomy 6:13. Just as Oto in that verse is referring to the divine presence, so too in this verse it is referring to the divine presence. The sages taught in a Bereta, the Jewish people are beloved as the Holy One, blessed be He, surrounded them with mitzvot. They have phylacteries on their heads, and phylacteries on their arms, and ritual fringes on their garments, and a mezuzah for their doorways. Concerning them David said, 7 times a day I praise you, because of your righteous ordinances. Psalms 119, 164. This alludes to the 2 phylacteries, the 4 ritual fringes, and the mezuzah, which totals 7. And when David entered the bathhouse and saw himself standing naked, he said, woe to me that I stand naked without any mitzvah. But once he remembered the mitzvah of circumcision that was in his flesh, his mind was put at ease. As he realized he was still accompanied by this mitzvah. After he left the bathhouse, he recited a song about the mitzvah of circumcision, as it is stated in the verse, for the leaders, on the Sheminith, a psalm of David. Psalms 12:1. This is interpreted as a psalm about circumcision, which was given to be performed on the 8th, Bashamini, day of the baby's life. Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov says, anyone who has phylacteries on his head, phylacteries on his arm, ritual fringes on his garment, and a mezuzah on his doorway is strengthened from all sides so that he will not sin, as it is stated in the verse. And a threefold cord is not quickly broken. Ecclesiastes 4:12. This is interpreted as an allusion to the 3 mitzvot of phylacteries, ritual fringes, and mezuzah. And the verse states, "The angel of the Lord encamps round about them that fear him, and delivers them." Psalms 34:8. This is interpreted to mean that the angel of the Lord surrounds those who fulfill the mitzvot and saves them from sin. It is taught in a Bereta that Rabbi Meir would say, "What is different about techelet from all other types of colors, such that it was chosen for the mitzvah of ritual fringes? It is because techelet is similar in its color to the sea, and the sea is similar to the sky, and the sky is similar to the throne of glory, as it is stated, and they saw the God of Israel, and there was under his feet the like of a paved work of sapphire stone, and the like of the very heaven for clearness." Exodus 24:10, indicating that the sky is like a sapphire brickwork. And it is written, "The likeness of a throne as the appearance of a sapphire stone." Ezekiel 1:26. It is taught in a Bereta that Rabbi Meir would say, "The punishment for not attaching white strings is greater than the punishment for not attaching sky blue strings, despite the fact that the sky blue strings are more important." Rabbi Meir illustrates this with a parable. To what is this matter comparable? It is comparable to a king of flesh and blood who said to his 2 subjects that they must bring him a seal. The king said to one of them, "Bring me a seal of clay." And he said to the other one, "Bring me a seal of gold." And both of them were negligent and did not bring the seals. Which of them will have a greater punishment? You must say that it is the one to whom he said, "Bring me a seal of clay," and despite its availability and low cost, he did not bring it. It is taught in a Bereta that Rabbi Meir would say, "A person is obligated to recite 100 blessings every day, as it is stated in the verse. And now, Israel, what, does the Lord your God require of you?" Deuteronomy 10:12. Rabbi Meir interprets the verse as though it said 100, mia, rather than ma. The Gemara relates that on Shabbat and festivals, when the prayers contain fewer blessings, Rav Hia, son of Rav Avia, made an effort to fill this quota of blessings with blessings on spices, be isparmakai, and sweet fruit, spices and sweet fruit, of which he would partake in order to recite extra blessings. It is taught in a Bereta that Rabbi Meir would say, "A man is obligated to recite 3 blessings every day, praising God for his kindnesses. And these blessings are, who did not make me a Gentile, who did not make me a woman, and who did not make me an ignoramus." 3 blessings every day, praising God for his kindness, who did not make me a Gentile, who did not make me a woman, who did not make me an ignoramus. Rav Aha bar Yaakov heard his son reciting the blessing, who did not make me an ignoramus. Rav Aha bar Yaakov said to him, it is in fact proper to go this far. Is it in fact proper to go this far in reciting blessings? Rav Aha bar Yaakov's son said to him, rather, what blessing should one recite? If you will say that one should recite, who did not make me a slave, that is the same as a woman. Why should one recite 2 blessings about the same matter? Rav Aha bar Yaakov answered, nevertheless, a slave. That completes Menachot 43b. Thank you.